Most new sellers enter this hobby with one assumption: buy low, sell high. But that's not a model, that's simply an outcome. Because there isn't just one way to make money selling cards. There are multiple models, each with different time requirements, capital needs, risk levels, and burnout potential. Today, we break down the 4 real models and where they actually work. Welcome to my so-called card life, the podcast where we talk about what actually happens when you try to run a real card business, the decisions, adjustments, and lessons that don't show up in highlight reels. Welcome to my so-called card life, an inside look at the life of a low-end card reseller, brought to you by JC3 Cards and Collectibles, a premier reseller of trading cards available today on eBay, Collects, and whatnot. Whether you're looking to fill out that new set or just rekindle memories with one of your favorite players from your favorite teams, let JC3 Cards and Collectibles help you find that card you're looking for and provide fast, secure delivery straight to your door. The first model we'll look at today is also the most common model, and this is the flipper. These are sellers that buy under market value and sell at market value. This is true arbitrage. This model works well at card shows, in auctions, finding mispriced lots, and collector platforms like Collects. They work well because they have immediate margin, and they can provide a fast cash cycle for you. But maybe most important, they are quite simply very simple to execute. However, there are some challenges to this model, and some of the weaknesses are things like constant sourcing required. And it's also a highly competitive market because it's easy to enter. It's very time intensive. You'll want to invest in your systems to make an efficient model. And it's also difficult to scale without sizable volume. But ultimately, this is how most sellers start. And it's effective for building initial capital. The watch out is if sourcing slows, then the revenue also slows. The second selling model is called the volume seller. And this is the model that most sellers eventually drift into. It's high quantity, lower price points. Simply put, list more, sell more. And it works really well in eBay stores and similar marketplace platforms. And it also works well when you have strong bulk inventory pipelines and lower price tiers to source that inventory. There are some solid strengths to this model. It can produce really consistent daily sales. It's inventory driven revenue, and it can get fairly predictable once you have it structured. But the weaknesses of this model are an extremely high workload, and you have to typically work in very low margin per item areas. And burnout is a real risk if you don't have systems built. The reality check on this model is it will only work with a strong infrastructure. Without structure, it quickly becomes more listings, more decisions, and more fatigue. And unfortunately, this is where most sellers break. The third model is the margin or premium seller. This model is really based upon fewer sales but higher value per sale. It works well with graded cards, serial numbered cards, and high end singles like case hits. Some of the strengths of this model are that it's a higher profit per transaction, which can feel really rewarding and justify the effort put in. It's also a lower transaction volume. So if you're not looking to stay extremely busy with your side hustle, that can be a positive. And overall, it's less operational load, less listing, less sales, less shipping. That can make a difference. But the weaknesses are going to be slower sales cycles. And it certainly requires more capital to enter the market. And it can be extremely sensitive to market shifts. The reality of this model is that the model has real leverage, but it requires patience. And overall, it's not a beginner friendly model without significant entry capital. Our fourth and final model is the hybrid operator. And this is where most sustainable systems land. It's simply a blend of our previous three models. A structural example would look like something with velocity inventory leading to consistent sales, and strategic singles leading to margin spikes. Use of arbitrage as a capital injection. And some of the strengths that result from this hybrid model are a balanced cash flow, a reduced dependency on any one model, and perhaps most importantly, a great deal of flexibility. But there are some weaknesses to this model as well. This model requires a great deal of discipline. It may also require some allocation rules, and it is certainly more complex to manage. The reality of this model is it is the most stable of the models, but that's only when it's intentionally deployed. It can't be accidental drift. Here's the watch out. The biggest mistake that sellers make is they don't intentionally choose a model. They accidentally mix them without realizing it. They may buy like a flipper, list like a volume seller, and then expect results like a premium seller. That creates a great deal of confusion and friction. And that's because the system isn't aligned. Here's something very important to remember: there is no best model, there is only alignment. Ask yourself, how much time do I actually have? How much capital am I willing to use? Do I want speed or margin? Can I handle volume consistently? Your answers define your model, not the market. The point where most sellers break is when they scale activity before choosing a structure. This in turn leads to overbuying, underpricing, constant repricing, and eventually burnout. Not because the model didn't work, but because the model was never defined. One thing is clear in this hobby, and that is there isn't only one way to make money in cards. There are multiple models, and each one can work if it's structured, intentional, and aligned. The next step isn't always doing more, it's actually choosing your model and then building an infrastructure around it. Remember, Stu says if your results don't make sense, check your model. You might be running three at once accidentally.